Yo, what is going on, YouTube? Finally back again. Had a little break for some birthday activities. Went down to Atlantic City, had a good time. Went to some nightclubs. Just had a nice little time for my 21st birthday. But today we're coming back with another video on rankings, and we're going through the first round of 12-team half PPR. This is particularly for best ball. Underdog. We're going to be doing this on today. I'm going to be doing another one probably tomorrow or the next day for full point rankings for DraftKings best ball. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So Christian McCaffrey, obviously the 101. Like there's no debating this in any realm at all. Um, so he scored 413 points in 2019 in half PPR and 332 points in 2018. Last year, he was on pace for the same exact numbers, maybe even a little more. It's pretty ridiculous what this man can do. There's one other running back, in my opinion, that can come close to what CMC can do. I'm not going to say it yet. I'll get to it when I get there. But I think CMC is in an absolute category of his own with no injury concerns at all. I have no concerns whatsoever. He's looking healthy in training camp, and his injuries from last year are not lingering ones. It was just like, like the ankle, which basically every running back gets, and then it was like a collarbone hit stick kind of thing. Like he just got it rocked, and what can you do about that? It's obviously CMC. I don't need to do too much like talking about this. Everyone knows that. Dalvin Cook is my number two. He's not my number two overall projected running back, but I think he's really safe at the same time. So 315 was his max. That was last year. The more I'm looking, damn. Okay. What I'm thinking in my head right now is I just sorted these rankings out, and the more I'm looking at this, I don't want Dalvin Cook to be my number two. But the problem is, Alvin Kamara, Zeke, Henry, everybody has questions. Saquon, like everybody has questions. Whether it's injuries or team situations or what. I kind of have to put Cook at two. I kind of have to bite the bullet and just let him sit there. But I don't. I think CMC's in his own tier, but I don't think Dalvin Cook is too much above any of the rest. Obviously, he's good. There's some slight injury concern because he's always had injuries basically every single year of his career. The downside with Cook is yes, his receiving is decent. It's definitely middle of the road. It's not bad at all. But it's no Saquon, CMC, Kamara, Zeke. It's not any of them. That's where his downfall is. His rushing yards and his TDs are great. He's just not going to have receptions or reception touchdowns, which is why his upside is nowhere near CMC. As you saw, 315 points last year was just so far off the 413 that CMC had the year before. Kamara's my number three. I would like to put Kamara ahead of Cook just because, as you can see, he just gets it done every single year. 336 last year, 208 the year before. That's when he missed, I think it was like 6 games with injuries or something crazy like that. And then 313 in 2018. I would love to put Kamara above Dalvin Cook. But I think the Michael Thomas injury, everyone wants to see it as, oh, Kamara's going to get every single touch in this offense, which I think he will. I think he'll get like a ton of stuff, a ton of throws and whatnot. But the problem is, I don't think Jameis will be in as much. I think it's going to be a lot more Taysom Hill. And with that, you see what I mean there? When Michael Thomas goes down, they're like, oh shit, we got to be creative. I think Sean Payton's going to be like, we got to use Taysom Hill, try to do some cool stuff with Kamara, which is nice. But in the red zone, Taysom Hill will be a big bother. I've heard some rumblings about Latavius Murray getting some work too. I don't want 3 running backs in the red zone. I want Kamara to get all of it. But that's the issue, and that's why we can't quite project him as high. His receptions will probably go down very slightly from the Drew Brees era. I think they'll still force feed it to him because they have to. Like, how else are they going to win? But I do think in the red zone they won't force feed it to him. I really believe that they're going to use Taysom way too much. And I think they're going to use Latavius a little bit too, which is the issue for Kamara. I think Kamara will get there. I think he'll be top 3 by the end of the year. He'll get there somehow. That's why I have him here ahead of Derrick Henry. But yeah, I don't know if he has that ceiling upside that Kamara normally has in this current situation due to the red zone threats. Then we got Zeke. I love Zeke this year. I really do. I think, as you see in 2018, he had 77 receptions, then 54, then 52. Last year was obviously a fluke. Doesn't really count. Everyone in the O-line was banged up. Like, absolutely everybody was. everyone that mattered for that matter. And then his quarterback Dak was out the whole year, so he was dealing with like Ben DiNucci and crap. So they would get like 20 plays a game. Obviously that's exaggeration, but it was just a terrible offense to be in. You don't want that situation. This year, obviously everyone's so damn high on the Cowboys. Everyone loves this offense. I do have them here at 4, slightly above like Saquon, Henry, and Devontae, just because he does get it done every single year. This is just like last year was his absolute. Not even last year. What am I saying? Like the 2 years before were his like floors, his like median projections, the 284 and the 290. That was his floor. We haven't seen him actually explode. Like the year he exploded in the receiving game, his TDs were lacking. The years his TDs were not lacking, he was a little less in the receiving game. I think this year it's going to be a little bit of a combination of both. I saw a report coming out that says he's not going to get as much work. I think that's such bullshit. Like they're not going to give Tony Pollard the ball when Zeke's still on a good contract, or like expensive contract, and when he looks actually decent this training camp. He's like 10, I think he's 10 or 12 pounds lighter, full muscle. Like this guy looks like a beast. Um, in full PPR, I like him even more just because I do think his receptions are going to be pretty nice. But yeah, that's why I have him above like everyone else basically. So next is Saquon. Saquon, here we're at the guy where this is the guy I'm talking about. Where I say the only person in this league that can even compete with McCaffrey is Saquon Barkley, and like compete is generous. His best season ever was in 2018, his rookie year when he got 340. Right? Uh, CMC got 413, man. Like this, compete is a generous term, but that was his rookie season. The next year he gets that high ankle sprain, misses a bunch of weeks, comes back, isn't the same. Then towards the end of the year, he dropped, I think it was like 240 plus fantasy games on DraftKings. I don't know about normal season scoring, but he's a beat. He's the best. I can't say the best. I'm sorry. CMC's the best running back in the league when he's healthy, but Saquon is the second best running back in the league when he's completely healthy. 340 his rookie year, 218 injured, and then obviously last year doesn't count. If he comes back healthy, which I think he will be, I'm not taking this. In fantasy you got to be risky to win the championship, and to win the money. You can't play scared and draft him at everyone's ADP perfectly every single round. You got to take some jumps, you got to take some, value plays at the same time. I'm taking the jump on Saquon. I have so many stupid shares of Saquon. He's drafted at sometimes the worst I saw was pick 17 at the 2-5. I've seen Saquon go at pick 17. Like that is just egregious. When this man is healthy, which I do believe he is, he's second to only McCaffrey. If he was healthy his sophomore year, he would have broke the 300 point mark by a mile. If he was healthy last year, he probably would have done it again. See, this is why I have him over Henry. Let me go to Henry. Henry just broke the 300-yard mark by going absolutely freaking nuclear in the running department. 2,000 yards, 17 touchdowns. His receiving game, awful, 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 awful. That's why he can never compete with any of these running backs above him. None of them cannot compete with any of them. They have to be injured or something has to go terribly wrong in their offense for them to be below him. He has to have everything break right, and he has to depend on Julio and A.J. Brown to not steal every single touchdown like I think they will. We're going to move on to Davante Adams. I have him above Henry just for the sole reason that he was injured in 3.5 games last year, and he still broke 300 points. Davante Adams was a different animal last year, and yes, his TDs will probably regress, just like Henry's yards and touchdowns will regress. But in my mind, hold on, let me turn my AC off. This is annoying. But in my mind, Davante's a little more consistent. I just see it as it's probably his last. I don't want to say this as a Packers fan, but it could be his last season in Green Bay. I think him and Aaron want to go out on a good note. He's approached the 300 point mark twice, whereas Henry's also done it twice. But I just think that it's a little easier for Davante to get there. It's a little easier. We don't have to rely on so many crazy games to go right. Yes, Derrick Henry still has a great schedule, against Houston and the Colts and the Jaguars. Like all of them are just meh run defenses. Like he'll have a nice time, but I just want to say I think Davante with that he has the real upside. If he gets to my projections, I'll just say my projections. I have, let's see, half PPR. Davante, 135 receptions, 1,550 yards, 15 touchdowns. Whereas I have Henry, half point running backs, 289.7. That's why. I have Henry projected for 1,700 yards. This is for 16 games, by the way. I'm not doing 17. 15 tutties, and then pretty crappy receiving game. So there you go. Next, Derrick Henry. We just talked about him. Blah, blah, blah. Can't receive. Travis Kelce. Man, 3 years in a row of going over 200, and one of them was 260. You know, if you can get a tight end that does that, the positional scarcity, it might be worth it. And it's not worth it over the CMCs, the Barkleys, the Elliott's, the Kamaras, the Cooks that can actually break like 350 on like their best season. He's never breaking to like 300. Like Kelce has to have the most ridiculous tight end season of all time to even break 300, and I don't think he'll have that. But when it starts getting past the real studs, and it starts getting into this tier of Diggs, Jones, Eckler, Hill, where they also like they don't have that 350 point upside that all the other guys have, that's when you start to be like, okay, is the 300 ceiling of Tyreek Hill, which he's never even done in his career, really worth anything more than the 260 point ceiling that Kelce has? A 20 point difference where you can get so many receivers that can approach like a 250-ish mark, whereas there's no other tight end in this whole league that'll even come close to like 220. You know, it's Waller and Kittle maybe getting above 200. I just think for positional scarcity's sake, I think you got to take Kelce over Hill, and Eckler, Jones, and Diggs. Now, obviously Hill's next. I have Hill over Diggs just because Diggs last year had that insane season and still only got to 265. He was healthy the entire year, and Hill still beat him. Beat him two out of his last 3 years. I know it's in a new system with Diggs, and everyone's like, "Oh, year 2 is going to even be even better," but I don't think he has quite the ceiling that a Tyreek Hill has. As for Eckler being above Diggs, I just like that it's a running back that who has, as you see, 263, about the same ceiling as Diggs, but as a running back. Same with the tight end argument that I just had with Kelce. It's due to positional scarcity, you know. Eckler's not gonna rush for very many yards. Obviously, he has this issue where he can't break 600 yards, and his rushing TDs is also like just straight up terrible. I won't even lie. But coming into a new year, Anthony Lynn's gone, got a new head coach, new blah blah blah. Like everything's looking nice. All right. They actually got the offensive coordinator from the Saints. I forget his name. I'm not gonna lie. Why am I forgetting his name? Whatever. It doesn't matter. Who used Kamara to an absolute perfect execution. I think Eckler's going to get the same type of use, where he's going to get about 90-ish receptions, about 1,000 receiving yards, and probably like 6-ish through the air touchdowns. I think on the ground he'll approach the 700-800 yard mark with like more touchdowns than this because their new coach is not gonna use Josh Kelly over Eckler. He's not gonna make that same mistake that Anthony Lynn was making the entire time. That was just straight up embarrassing how they're using Eckler. And Justin Herbert clearly has a boner for Austin Eckler because he threw 16 targets to him in one game last year. That was ridiculous. Obviously, he likes to check it down. He's not a run-first quarterback. That's what we like to see from Eckler. Moving on, we go to Aaron Jones. Once again, I have him over Diggs just because he has that almost 300-point upside. And with Aaron Rodgers back, guys, this A.J. Dillon nonsense needs to stop. Aaron Jones scored 16 touchdowns in a season, rushing wise, and then 9 in the next season. Like, he's not a bad goal line back by any stretch of the imagination. He's the better goal line back between him and Dillon. Yes, Dillon's bigger, but he is just a lead block. Like, he's just tumbling his way into the end zone. Aaron Jones is actually shifty and is still just as powerful. They're going to use Jones like they've used him in years past where he gets all the goal line work, but they're also going to use him on third downs where Jamal Williams is gone. That's what we'd like to see. We need him to get more receptions. Aaron Jones is sneakily one of the best route running backs in the entire league. He runs every single route. I've seen him go like 40 yards down the field, lined up on the outside, beating cornerbacks and just mossing them. Like, this man is a beast. But yeah, last year he had, not quite the same year as 2019. I think he was injured a couple games, came into some weeks with like hamstring issues. But look at that. He's dealing with a current hamstring issue. He should be fine. Hamstring. He has 5 weeks to prepare. Whatever. He's my number 11. The last pick I have in round 1 is Stefon Diggs, as I said before. Can't put him much higher. I think he'll have a very, very similar season. He also missed practice. What is going on? Knee injury. Oh my goodness. Okay, so crazy. crazy. I think that he does not have the ceiling of any of the receivers above him, but I do think he has a very, very good floor. I think he'll be between 230 and 260 this year. I think it'll be maybe even a slight tick down from last year or exactly the same. I don't see much changing in this Bills offense. Gabriel Davis could take a step up, but they did lose John Brown. I mean, John Brown didn't do much last year. He missed basically like half the season anyways. But they've Cole Beasley, and then they just got Emmanuel Sanders, which is why I think the ball might be spread out a little more this year. I don't think it's going to be quite as force-fed to Diggs. I think he's still a good pick, and I think he's still better than, like, you know, I don't know if he's better than Ridley and Hopkins. I can't, like, I think he's safer than Ridley, and I don't know if he's better than Hopkins. I might change these rankings and put Hopkins above Diggs. I'm not positive. Because we look at Hopkins. Hopkins does it every single year. 230, 217, 276. Like, he's just as consistent as Diggs. They're basically interchangeable. That's why I think outside of these, like, first, like, 6, 7 picks, it's really bad. Like, if you're at the end of your draft, it's terrible. I'm sorry if you get the 10 through 12 spot in the draft, it's just bad. Because there's not that much of a distance between, you know, like Antonio Gibson and JT Metcalf from the Diggs, the Hill, you know, the Kelsey. But that's going to wrap it up, boys. That's going to do it for today. That's my half PPR best ball rankings on Underdog. If you liked it, drop a like. Sub if you're new around here. Turn post noties on. Leave a comment. I want to know what you guys are doing, how your drafts are going. Send me your teams. I can rate your teams if you guys want. I saw some people start doing that. I don't mind doing that. Might do some live stream best ball drafts at some point too. If you guys could tune in, that would be great. I don't want to do them alone exactly. That's kind of boring. I like to get some questions during it. I can answer whatever you guys need me to during it. I actually prefer the live stream format over just making a YouTube video because I like to just talk like on the fly. I don't really like to do, you know, all the editing and whatnot. It's not as fun. I want to start live streaming more. But yeah, that's going to do it, boys. I'm going to see you on the next one. Peace.
Can never ever find the right words, and there's no way this is real life. There's no telling you're the right girl, so I can only say that it feels right.